kind of a series of the KeepWarm webinars on modernization of district heating systems. Today, we would like to focus on keeping our cities efficiently warm. So the focus is on energy efficiency, and it will be my pleasure to present to you the different aspects of it just in a minute. Before that, I would like to make you aware that of the different WebEx options we have here that are at your hand and disposal. You can raise your hand at the side if you would like to ask a question. We would like to take your questions then up after each presentation. You can also applaud and give claps to the presenter, or tell him to maybe speak slower or faster, just as you wish. You have also the option, and you can see it at the bottom of your screen. You can click here the Q&A, and here I would like to invite you to pose content-related questions that you may have towards the presenter, towards the topic, and to enrich our discussion then after each presentation or at the very end of the webinar. Then you have also the option to chat to the host or to specific people, but I would like to remind you that the chat function would be rather related to technical questions, problems you may encounter, and here our colleague Anja, if you can wave yes, is at your disposal to hopefully help you with your technical difficulties. So in that sense, lean back, enjoy, and I would like then to come to the agenda of today. We have gathered for you 3 different examples out of our variety of KeepWarm cases. The first presentation will be on optimizing of biomass district heating and their economy in Austria, followed then by a presentation from the Czech Republic on modernization of heat distribution network of the district heating system of Brno. And last but not least, we have a contribution from Ukraine, energy efficiency investment in district heating. Before we go into these 3 different presentations, we have a special introduction of KeepWarm as well as its just launched publications that are ready for your use. Over to my colleague George. George, please.
Hello, and if you can give me the ball. So, hello everyone. Thank you again. You've already put my presentation. Good. Okay, so I'm going to be giving an introduction about KeepWarm and a recently completed product that we have, which is called our KeepWarm showroom. I'll be getting to that in a moment. I work for ICLEI Europe alongside Karsten and Anja, and we're one of 11 partners on the project. So a little bit about KeepWarm. We engage forward-thinking district heating systems in 7 countries around Central and Eastern Europe. You can see on the map, I'm not going to go into all of them, but we'll be featuring 3 of the countries today. And we help these systems to retrofit to become more efficient. That's the topic of today, but also to look into more sustainable energy sources. This will be the topic of an upcoming webinar in October. We're also helping them to overcome barriers to the deployment of district heating, which is often a problem, especially in Central and Eastern Europe. We're doing so through increasing capacities of the district heating staff. There's also helping them on developing their business plans and to mobilize funding, and so they can make replicable demo cases that others can copy, and also so that they can be integrated into policies, strategies, and plans. So as I said, we are 11 partners. 2 of us are based in Germany, including GIZ, who is the coordinator of the project. And you will be hearing today from Association of District Heating for Czech Republic, LVK Steiermark in Austria, and also KT Energy in Ukraine. KeepWarm retrofits. We have 5 parts of our hierarchy. These are designed to help district heating systems to retrofit to make more efficient operations with cost-effective investments. And this ends up creating reliable services which contribute to climate goals. The primary topic for today is going to be on the first level, which is retrofitting and optimizing grid production efficiency. There are 5 more, but it seems that this is a PDF, so I had some animations there, but I know them by heart. The second level is about renewable energy integration into district heating systems. The third level is about integrating excess heat. This would be from factories or data centers or something like this. And the fourth level is about waste to energy, but only if it's in line with sustainable waste management strategies. These 3 components, second, third, and fourth, will be the main perspective for our next webinar. The 5th one may be touched on a little bit today. It's about getting smart district heating and smart control mechanisms in place. So about this KeepWarm showroom, there's a link available here, and you can see it's called the Showroom of Replicable and Bankable DHS Pilot Projects. We have 23 DHSs that we work with in our 7 countries, and this showroom highlights as kind of a portfolio of all 23 of these. It allows us to hopefully inspire DH companies to replicate the same measures or improve on them if they wish, to also stimulate investors to fund and finance these kinds of measures for our 23, but also for any others. And it's also to tackle the idea that consumers sometimes need to be attracted to DH services. There's a lot of disconnection rates in some parts of Central and Eastern Europe, and this idea is to show that DH is a viable thing that should be attractive to customers, from private, public, real estate developers who should be convinced that they should connect to district heating systems. And the fourth purpose of this showroom is to target public authorities, to give them specific examples of the kinds of retrofits that should be integrated into energy policies and prioritized in those policies. The cases that we have from Austria, Czech Republic, and Ukraine, you can see them here. There are 9 of them. We have 14 more in our other countries, which are Croatia and Latvia and Serbia and Slovenia. I highlight this green box here. This is about those, in these 3 countries, the things that were done, the measures that were done to switch or to integrate renewable energy. That will not be the topic of today's webinar, although there will certainly be touched on, because it's also important to know the kind of energy source that you're using when you are doing an energy efficiency retrofit, but that will be the main focus of the next webinar in October. To give you an idea of what else we have within the KeepWarm showroom, we have national context. So here's, for example, gives you a summary of what's happening in Austria. If you're not already familiar with what the situation is for district heating in Austria, this will give you ideas of some of the challenges, trends, policy and market framework conditions, and even some recommendations that we have for the Austrian. You also have the 23 cases. So for example, here I've highlighted Brno from Czech Republic. This will be talked about today in their presentation, but this is the gives you an idea about the operational details of each of our 23 DH companies, their investment plans, the sort of strategic documents and stakeholders that are involved, the resources that they need, and the results that they are already working towards right now. As well as at the bottom, and in the bottom right, you will be able to find contact details so that you can directly contact these DHs or their representatives to find out more in detail how this is applicable to your needs. We're also still in the progress of expediting national progress by means of adapting these the showroom to each of the countries in English, but also translating them into the local languages. This makes it more suitable for engaging local stakeholders. So I'll give you an example of Ukraine. There's one of the pages from the country context and one of the pages from one of their DHs. So this will be coming out very soon. We already have initial versions of the DH slides, which are available on our website, but we'll have more advanced versions quite soon. I also invite you to look onto our website where we have our Learning Center, where we have all of these products, including this KeepWarm showroom, but also many other resources from other projects, from sister projects, from Horizon 2020, things, past projects, also from EU initiatives. You can find our news, all kinds of guidebooks, tools, and you also find out about our Inspire events. This webinar is part of our international Inspire event. Last month we had Inspire event series in Latvia, and I believe that those resources are also available if you want to find out what's happening in Latvia, including one webinar which was done in English. This month, yesterday, Kirill launched the Ukrainian webinar series. So if you want to find out more about Ukraine, you can follow Kirill on that. And there will be also at the end one webinar done in English for those of you who don't speak Ukrainian. Just to give you an idea about where you can find the showroom, I'm going to put it into the chat right now. Well, in a moment. There is the link directly to our showroom, but here, if you want to go to our website, you click on Resources under the Learning Center, you will go to Technical Solutions and Cases, and then you will find there the showroom. So finally, I just wanted to point out that we want you to exploit our expertise for you. So our entire consortium from all 7 countries, 7 plus Germany, which is not one of our target countries, but we are still willing to provide our expertise to anyone out there. So we offer consultancy, feasibility studies, financial guidance, action planning strategies, policy and market integration. We can train your staff or other stakeholders. We provide general advice. So please contact us to take advantage of our expertise and help it benefit you. That's all from my side. Here's what I could look like if you don't see me well in the camera. And also you can see our general information, keepwarmeurope.eu, info@keepwarmeurope.eu. You can follow us on Twitter, or you can use the QR code. That's it from my side. So I'll hand it back over to Karsten.
Well, thank you very much, George, for showing us the showroom and making us wonder what else is there apart from the information you have just presented. Indeed, it's I recommend that each one of you takes a deliberate look into the different aspects and cases which are highlighted for you and the benefit of your stakeholders. Today we have gathered and selected 3 cases, and without further ado, I would like to start with the first one on optimization of biomass district heating and their economy, delivered by Klaus Engelmann. He's expert in the unit Energy, Climate and Bioresources of the Chamber of Agriculture and Forestry in Styria of Austria. Klaus, thank you very much for being available, and over to you.
Thank you, Carsten, for the introduction. I have so much I want to tell you today, but time is quite limited, so I have to push, and I directly go into the topic of my presentation: optimization of biomass district heating and the economy in Austria. As Carsten already told you, I'm working for the Chamber of Agriculture and Forestry, and you might think what the Chamber of Agriculture and Forestry has to do with district heating, and that directly leads me to the first topic I want to tell you. It's about the structure of district heating in Austria. And as you can see here on this slide on the right, there's a map of Austrian district heating plants, and you can see with a quite dense situation here with about 2,400 district heating plants. The red dots or the brown dots are the heat-only district heating networks, and the yellow marks are CHP plants. And especially in the rural areas, we have quite a lot of small and medium scale biomass district heating systems. And they started they started with the building of those systems in the mid-80s, beginning of the 90s. And they were mainly built from forest owners, which wanted to use their own energy wood, their own residues from forestry. Therefore, a lot of district heating systems in Austria are operated by farmers and forest owners, which come to my first introduction back is the reason why the Chamber of Agriculture and Forestry is making consultancies in this area. Besides those biomass district heating systems in the rural areas, we of course have mainly fossil-driven district heating systems in the bigger cities. In total, district heating is quite popular in Austria, and the market is growing and growing. Nowadays, we have about 28% of all buildings using district heating as their primary system. And as I told, the market is growing because it's popular, it's comfortable, and it's also competitive in price with other heating options. And on the slide, you can see which energy sources are used in district heating in Austria and how it developed over the last 30 years. And you can see on the right top, the green part is the biomass part. And you see nearly half of Austria's district heating comes from biomass nowadays. And you also see the development since 1990, how it increased mainly through the small-scale biomass district heating plants. In yellow, we also have a quite significant share of natural gas. Here in the light brown, we also have waste incineration heat, then some share of oil, and the black thing is coal. However, we managed to shut down the last coal plant in Austria this year, so we already managed to phase out the coal in Austria. So the goal in the district heating sector from the government is to be 100% renewable by 2040. And therefore, we have firstly to optimize the systems by reducing temperatures, by increasing grid densities, reducing the losses, and of course, by replacing the fossil share with renewables from biomass, heat pumps. Excess heat is becoming a bigger topic right now. And also we have on the political side a big topic about green gases, which more or less means methanization of biomass residues, or also methanization with surplus energy from solar or wind power, and use this methanized green gas in the natural gas grid as a replacement of the natural gas. Yeah, that's it for the structure in Austria. And now I want to show you two showcases of district heating plants we supported in the KeepWarm project in their optimization steps. And I just briefly want to show you the first one, which is the district heating plant in Ligest in Styria. And that's a quite typical Austrian biomass district heating plant, small scale. You can see 2.5 megawatt boilers, and it's quite old for biomass plant. It was built in 1986, and this time the technology wasn't that developed as it is today, and therefore the operators struggled with low efficiencies of the old boilers, with the technology which wasn't state of the art. And also it's a very rural area, therefore they had a quite low grid density and therefore high grid losses. And this project was, let's say, a quite straightforward project. They decided to replace the boilers, to have more efficient boilers, and replace the installations in the boiler house. And they also plan to make a smaller grid expansion and connect some new customers, which was a bit postponed due to Corona situation right now, but they plan to do it this year also. So in total, the investment will be 1.4 million euros. And with this, they can increase their efficiency by about 6%. And what's even more crucial for them is they increase the annual profit by 30%. Although including the 1.4 million of investment, if I include the depreciation and the financing costs of this situation. And of course, we also have additional climate effects by replacing oil individual heatings with this renewable district heating. The second example I want to show you is the district heating plant in Eibiswald, also a biomass district heating plant, which is quite old, built in 1993, which has similar problems, old boilers, old installations, and with the current installations, they are not ready for future, and therefore profitability was also quite low. As you can see on the image, here on the roofs, they also have a thermal solar system. They were quite pioneers in this area. They have 2,500 square meters thermal solar area, which mainly delivers energy during the summertime, so they can switch off their biomass boilers. And they also have oil boilers, but just as a backup and for peak load. And the fossil share in the energy generation is below 1%. So what they did is they decided to build a complete new boiler house. So they built a complete new house on the other side of the storage room with completely new installations, new boilers, new filters, new controlling system, which made them really ready for the future. And they also decided to take over a nearby district heating plant, which was really inefficient, and decided to shut down this boiler house and made a grid connection and heated them from the new boiler house. And they also made a massive grid expansion in Eibiswald, in their town, and connected plenty of new customers, and totally invested 7 million euros. The work is nearly done at the moment, and what's really impressive, nearly doubled their customers with this investment, and they increased the sold heat by about 62%. And now in total they have about 20 kilometers of grid length, which is quite a lot, especially if you know the area here in Eibiswald, where the district heating is located. There live about 2,000 people. So I think that's also a good example how district heating can work in a smaller village or small towns. Now I want to go to some more technical parts, and one thing I think it's very important to optimize, especially biomass district heating plants, is the use of a flue gas condensation, which is what's also built in Eibiswald. And I would say in new biomass district heating systems, this is state of the art. However, we have plenty of older ones which don't have such a flue gas condensation. And what is what it does is to use the hot flue gas inlet and condense the hot temperature and the water in the flue gas with the cold grid return flow temperature, and therefore heat up the temperatures in the grid with the flue gas. And the second effect we have with this condenser is that we reduce dust emissions at a certain level, which is also quite beneficial. However, for the system to work efficiently, we need low return flow temperatures, as it's really necessary that we come to a contention process. We have here a dew point, which is the temperature in the flue gas. And this flue gas temperature is mainly driven by the return flow temperature. And therefore, we need return flow temperatures of below 50 degrees that we come to a condensation process where we can get additional efficiency of about, in practical operation, we see about 10 to 20% additional energy in comparison to primary energy input with this flue gas condensation. And here the different lines maybe to tell you is the different moisture contents of the wood chips used. And as you can see, the wetter the chips, the more efficiency you can get out of the condensation, as more latent energy is in the flue gas in the system. Yeah. However, I told you the crucial thing is the low return flow temperatures, and we don't have the low return flow temperatures at all the plants. So what we can do, and what is quite a new solution for that, is the use of an absorption heat pump. An absorption heat pump is a heat pump where we don't use electricity as an energy driver, but we use high temperature heat source and the low temperature heat source. In this special case, we can use higher return flow temperatures, for example, here in this case, 55 degrees, and have on the other side a lower temperatures water circle, which is the water circle of the flue gas condensation. With this heat pump, it allows that the flue gas condensation can operate with temperatures of 28 degrees in comparison to 55. And if I go back one slide, where you can see if we have low temperatures, like here about 30 degrees, the efficiency really rises up and the system is really efficient in this case. In this example, we have a biomass steam boiler of 1 megawatt, and in combination with a flue gas condensation and this absorption heat pump, we can get 700 kilowatt additional energy out of the system. So with a 1 megawatt boiler, we get 1.7 megawatt energy out in heat delivery, which is a quite cool thing. This is quite new, and now we have the first a couple of examples in Austria where these things are built in. Yeah, I think this can be a good potential in future. However, one more thing, we not just can use it with a flue gas condensation, but this low temperature source can also be any other low temperature excess heat, for example, which can't be used if we don't have heat pumps, because these low temperatures, for example, of 40 degrees, can't be made usable otherwise. So yeah, that's it from my side. I hope I had some interesting points for you. if you have more questions afterwards, you have here my email address. Feel free to ask me afterwards or in the Q&A session at the end of today's session. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Klaus. Applause to you. Thank you for such an interesting case, or actually two interesting cases in the framework of the Austrian ambition of going 100% renewable by 2040 of its district heating systems. I see that we have a question here in relation to the Eibiswald case you presented, and again I would like to invite everyone to chat or actually to Q&A their questions, or raise your hand and we can unmute you if you wish to speak up. So the first question is for Eibiswald, with their new biomass boilers, are they still able to take advantage of their solar thermal? Are they able, in brackets now, and do they intend to do so to completely decarbonize?
Yes, to the first one, yes, still able to use the thermal solar. However, the thermal solar is, I think in total they deliver about 14 gigawatts of energy, and the thermal solar is about 1 gigawatt. So it's a smaller part, especially for summertime, but they can use it, and I would say they mainly have decarbonized. They just have a backup of less than 1% of oil, which is really just a backup.
Okay, thank you very much. I also see that the person that posed the question had difficulties in putting a Q&A. So if you find, if you have that same problem, please chat to us your question. Most importantly is that you do receive the information that you wish to receive. And maybe now a question from my side in relation to the ambition which you outlined, the 100% renewable energy, and actually the noticeable increase of biomass from 1990, about 8% now to 47% in 2015, so in a very short time frame. Which would you say are the challenges that are now faced by ensuring the permanent biomass supply for DHSs using biomass? If I relate to the Balkans, for instance, where there is a lot of wood, but also potential at the same time, it could also be used in not only the Balkans, but in many different places around the world and in Europe. If we are not ensuring the sustainability of the supply, how can we be so ambitious? So maybe here some insights from Austria.
On the one thing, the security of supply on district heating level, the thing in Austria is the structure of the district heating, that the farms are of the owners of the district heating. Therefore, they have their own wood for the district heating plants. Talking about general security of supply, still in Austria and also in all over Europe, we're still using less wood than grows annually. Therefore, we still have some additional potential. Also, we have made recently a calculation about how climate change, how energy efficiency in private households reduces the energy consumption of the biomass. And we came to a result that it will be by 2040 reduced by 20% from current households. So this 20% will become free, and we can use it additional for new households. So it's also always a combination between energy efficiency, reducing the total energy input, and replacing the fossil part with renewable parts.
Thank you for this answer. And by that, I see that Jolana or Martin has raised his hand. So over to the panelists, which I'm just about to introduce, which is Martin Hayek, who has played a little bit of musical chairs with Jolana Burgovana, with also expert at the Association for District Heating of the Czech Republic. The presentation that will now be held will be held by Martin Hayek, who is a national heat expert and also the president of the Association of District Heating in the Czech Republic. By his background, he is engineer, and maybe he would like, before he starts his presentation, to comment on what has just been said. Over to you, Martin.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I will check how to move actually the presentation. Okay, yeah, just a second. Oh, it works.
Yes, works.
Works perfect. Thank you. It's very small icon, so I can hardly see. Well, for today, I prepared a few slides about district heating modernization or network upgrade in district heating system of Brno, which is our partner project. The whole district heating in Brno is one of the oldest in the Czech Republic in terms of beginning of the whole of its operation. It started in 1930, and it's really ranks among the oldest systems in the Czech Republic. The good news is that it's almost completely modernized now, or most of the network is already modernized, and it should be finished by 2023. I will get to it very shortly. It's municipality-owned district heating system. It has 291 kilometers, 4,000 customers. Boiler output is 763 megawatts in 13 boilers. The steam network is still part. The district heating network is still partly steam one. I will get to it in short run. It's gradually changed to hot water. Regarding fuels, the operation of the system is mainly based on natural gas, but it uses also heat from waste to energy plant. For the future, that the heat from waste to energy should be increased as the operator of waste to energy plants plants new boiler for using more waste, and also the company itself is planning to use wood chips from the forest of cities. So the share of renewable energy should increase, and at the same time the losses in the system should go down, which in the end will substantially increase the share of renewable energy in district heating. Well, the average losses in the heat distribution in Brno are 18%, which of course is the average between very low losses in heat networks and very high losses in steam network. With new pre-insulated hot water distribution systems, we can get the losses about 6%. So there is still considerable room for improvement. The steam pipelines, of course, where the steam network was developed historically, when there was lots of industries for which originally the heat supplies were intended. And those industries needed steam, so the whole system was developed as the steam one. But in the course of time, those industries which really need steam almost disappeared in Brno. So now there is no need at all to have steam network. So there is a plan that the network will be completely switched to to hot water because simply there is no need to have steam. That's the first reason. The second reason, of course, is that steam pipelines are already quite old and they are subject to corrosion and problems. Especially condensate pipes are very susceptible because condensate from steam is quite corrosive, and the lifetime of these pipelines is quite short. And of course, it doesn't make sense to build new pipelines for condensate. It's much better to switch to hot water immediately. The Brno plans to replace or to finish the replacement because it's a long-term process which already started and it's ongoing, but it should be finished by 2023 when all the steam networks should be replaced with hot water. New distribution systems have minimum lifetime of 30 years, which can be extended to 50 years with regular maintenance. Of course, also the systems are equipped with leakage detection and all other stuff, which greatly improves or makes it much easier to fix any leakages or any problems with network. So it's also the operation or potential detection of leakages is much easier and much quicker, so that potentially disruption of heat supply to customers is much shorter than with steam networks, which also are much. There is also safety concerns with steam network because when you have problem with steam network, it's not a leakage, it's actually rupture which can cause quite some crater in the pavement or in the street. So it's really explosion if you have problems with steam network. So it's very different things from heat network. So it's also safety consideration that there will be no, if the system is replaced, there will be no risk of any explosions in the future. Well, okay. All right. No. Right. Okay. What is the problem? The problem, of course, is that we don't change only the network itself, but we also have to change steam exchanger stations at the customers' premises, which is the biggest. Usually, this is quite big problem because you have to negotiate with customers. It means that they have some discomfort because they have some time without heat supply. They have to change their equipment, etc., etc. So this is really the most tricky part usually when replacing heat networks is the cooperation with customers. Persuading them this is needed, helping them actually to adapt to the conditions so that you lose your customers in the process, because customers then the whole project of refurbishment is not really bringing what was expected. Regarding modern exchanger stations, of course we can achieve also quite significant heat savings at the customer's premises. Typically, heat network upgrades are regarded as saving on the district heating company side, but the reality is that we can achieve 15%, at least 15% savings also on the customer side because of better regulation, because lower heat losses, from the heat exchanger station itself, etc. So it also brings quite significant benefits directly to the customer. It's not only about decreasing losses in the system, it's also about more efficient heat supply at the customer's premise. Of course, the heat exchanger stations work with lower temperature. They are much easier to regulate or control. Typically, when they are replaced, also the remote control is installed. So these heat exchanger stations are then under 24-hour, 7 days a week oversight from the company, which ensures much higher, much better control and much better comfort for customers, because if anything happens to the heat exchanger station, it's immediately immediate. The work to fix it starts immediately, and it's not about that the customer in the evening finds out that actually it doesn't work and starts to look for any for fixing the problem with heat exchanger station. The problem is detected immediately, and immediately the company starts works on. So, well, and benefits of modernizations. Of course, I've said, speaking about energy savings, also on the customer side, at the comfort, of course, reduction of CO2 emissions every kilometer reduces CO2 emissions, more stable heat price, and of course peace with the citizens of the city, because in the future the Brno will have much fewer excavations in the cities. Also because most of the new networks are put into the new collectors, newly built system of collectors, which means that in the future any replacements or any work on the network will not mean that you have to dig up the city and change disruption to life of the citizens. So, well, next one. The financing of the project. The project was financed, or the refurbishment project was mainly financed by district heating companies' own resources, but also they are using subsidies from funds. Concretely, it's here the first fund, which in Czech Republic is known as Open PIC and is managed by Ministry of Industry and Trade. The cost of replacing steam distribution systems varies according to local conditions. It's very big difference whether you go through grassy area or whether you have to dig up the road or the pavement or sidewalk. Then of course that increases the cost. And if we add the cost of connection pipelines, the final cost is around 1 million euro per kilometer of new network. So the whole project of the steam network refurbishment in Brno, the whole cost of the whole project is about 25 million euro, of which 18 million will be own investment and 7 million will be subsidy from EU fund. Because of high cost of the project and also construction constraints, that mostly works can be done only during the outage or during the summertime, the project is divided to multiple years, and as I have said, it should be finished by 2023. And this is the final slide on the project itself. as we see, there's about 3 to 8 kilometers every year of replaced network, and the final date should be 2003. Originally, I think it was a little bit earlier, but the problem is that as the refurbishment works are also depending on how quickly the new collector system is built. Some delay with building new collectors, so the refurbishment of network had to wait for new collectors being built. And the last slide is about the future, or about more broader perspective in the Czech Republic. We are now closely cooperating with the Czech government, also using or as a government, but also with the European Commission, on using Just Transition Fund in coal region. In Czech Republic, we have 3 coal regions: Northern Bohemia, Western or Karlovarský kraj, and Northern Moravia. And in these regions, we have identified 344 kilometers of steam networks, which should be replaced until 2030. So it's quite considerable amount. Total investment expected is 400 million euros, and we expect that it should be supported from Just Transition Fund. It's expected that part of the money will come from there, and also the modernization fund, which should start to be operational next year, to also finance these important constructions. Which, of course, other aspect we didn't cover yet is creating jobs for people, because this investment helps to create economic activity, jobs, which is particularly in the areas affected by closing down mining and plants. Thank you very much for your attention.
Well, thank you, Martin, for delivering us the case of Brno in the Czech Republic. And one question that we have here posed from Francis is that the losses, he took note that the losses dropped by 66%, and has the question, is this due to better insulation, or was the system temperature also changed from 200 to 105 degrees, as you were highlighting?
Yeah, it's actually both. Of course, it's both. Because first of all, the new pipelines are much better insulated than the old ones. That's the first reason. Second reason is that the condensate pipelines, you have lots of leakages, because the corrosion is really there's a high level of corrosion on returning condensate. So you have also losses of condensate, and of course the losses of condensate means also losing energy. And the third reason, of course, is much lower temperature, because with steam you have 220 degrees. With water networks you have typically about, we are operating around 80 degrees. Of course, it changes during the year, but the temperature is much lower, which also means much lower energy losses. So the improvement regarding the losses is really very significant when going from steam to network. That's why we are really making great efforts to refurbish all the networks as soon as possible. And it's also important to know that with the district heating systems we have, we need to first improve the network, and then it makes sense to replace the source of it. Because with improving the networks, you significantly decrease the output you need to have in your heat sources, so that you have lower investment in new. For example, when we are going from coal to natural gas, or from coal to biomass, or whatever, you need much smaller boiler after the project of heat network rehabilitation is completed. So it makes sense to pursue reconstruction of steam networks as soon as possible, not only because you have lower losses, but you are also ready then to replace the coal-fired, typically coal-fired boiler with something different.
Okay, thank you. We have further questions. Does the project in Brno imply replacement of the steam pipelines only, or there are some modernization planned also in waste-to-energy plants?
Well, a waste-to-energy plant is not part of the district heating system because it's owned by other company, which is also municipally owned, but it's different company. So because the Brno has one company for operating the system and another company is engaged in waste management altogether, including waste separation and all kind of stuff, which also includes waste to energy plants. So this is a separate company, and this is not included directly in the project.
Thank you. And maybe the last question before we move on to our third speaker. Are there prices in Brno or elsewhere, are they decreasing and being passed on to the customers, for example, in reducing energy poverty in relation to the just transition?
Well, prices of heating generally are decreasing in Czech Republic this year. There are two reasons for that. First reason is that our government or our parliament approved the law which decreased VAT on heat starting January 1st this year. So we have now VAT of 10%. It used to be 15%. So which contributed to slight decreasing cost to the customers. And the second reason is that natural gas prices are going down, and now gas is really cheap. So this also brings the cost down. On the other hand, for the future, what we expect is that CO2 allowances will be much more costlier, which is a big problem for coal-fired systems. So actually, replacing the networks and switching away from coal is also the question of keeping affordable heat prices for the future.
Martin, thank you very much. Maybe we come to that at the very end, if there is time. I would now like to thank you, first of all. Big applause to you, virtually. Then I would like to hand over to Kirill Tomalik. He is consultant at LLC KT Energy in the Ukraine, which provides consultancy and project development services in the areas of power, energy efficiency, and carbon emission reductions. And he will tell us about energy efficiency investments in district heating. Over to you, Kirill. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karsten. I'm glad to present here our information on Ukraine and our participation in KeepWarm project. Let's go. So several words about Ukraine and then Ukrainian district heating. We are 40 million country, and then 40% of this 40 million use district heating energy for themselves. This is, of course, located in the urban populated and dense areas. And as a rule, these district heating companies, they are owned by municipalities and are in close cooperation of the cities. The majority, I shall say that straightforward, that the majority of the supply comes from the natural gas. So more than 90% of the heat energy in Ukraine is produced from natural gas. Among the challenges which the DHS companies face in Ukraine, I would say that the major challenge is the gradual but constant decreasing of the demand for the heat energy from the district heating companies. And then basically there are three major reasons for such demand decrease. One is the ongoing modernization of the building sector, although that is the minor, but still it is present there. It is also coupled usually with the supplementation or introduction of substations, which improves the efficiency overall of the system and decreases the consumption of heat. But then the two main reasons, in fact, are the disconnection from the district heating because people migrate to individual natural gas heating. And then the last but not least reason is the decrease of the temperatures during the heating season. So there is a strict tendency that during the heating season the temperatures are lower, the winters are milder, and then that affects the district heating companies a lot. And then further in my presentation on specific examples, I will comment a bit more on these issues. With respect to why people move to or migrate to individual gas firing is basically one of the main reasons for that is, I would say, unreasonably small price of electricity for individual households in Ukraine, which is caused by cross subsidies. It is just historically so happened. And then now this kind of a low prices for electricity is the only island in Ukraine of this cross subsidies among the other types of energy, because for instance, natural gas is now everyone pays the market price, but somehow for the electricity, the situation remains so. In the middle run, of course, in my opinion, that will not sustain. So very likely that the electricity prices will grow. But meanwhile, the DHS companies should somehow adjust to the current situation. And basically how they can adjust is through the proper and smart modernization, which basically requires further centralization of district heating. The decrease in demand results in the fact that the capacities for the heat energy generation, they are not 100% loaded. And since they are kind of underloaded, they operate not efficiently, which means that the least efficient heat generation facilities should be phased out, and then the heating load should be connected to the heat generation facilities, which are the most energy efficient on one hand, and then technically it is possible for them to provide the heat for the customers, which also requires a lot of or considerable amount of heat distribution networks altering, so additional pipelines improving the existing ones. So and then also one I will come to the next slide, but we can already see now that the biomass is already responsible for 8% of the heat energy generated in the country, and that has been achieved by the last 10 years, I think. So it's pretty massive development of biomass. So as it is said here, that the use of biomass for heating is growing. We have in Ukraine some cities, including, well, some of them are the part of our project, some of them are not the part of our project, but the cities, like, they accumulate the amount of biomass used for heat energy generation, and then the tendency is that the biomass shall grow. Although now, as it was said, indicated by Klaus, that natural gas prices are decreasing all over the continent, and some biomass projects, or especially those biomass projects which have been planned, so now the plans may be altered for their introduction. The goal of Ukraine is actually to ensure a 40% share of renewable energy sources in district heating by 2030. And then our companies within the KeepWarm projects and then the others, many of them, they have the pipeline of biomass to energy projects, including biomass to electricity and heat, and biomass only to heat. I will then provide examples on that. Among the trends which we can see right now is the kind of additional attention which is paid to these green gases, and then in particular biomethane, which was indicated by Klaus as well. So this methanization of different, let's say, waste, and then using the methane for district heating. It is the case that now in Ukraine there are experiments with straw to biomethane or to, let's say, biogas for the moment. The thing is that new technologies at the industrial scale now they allow the anaerobic digestion of straw. Few such facilities are being built in Ukraine, and then very soon the country will know how efficient the process is. And then if the process is efficient, and given the fact that straw and then the other agricultural residues are abundant in Ukraine, there could be a boom of such projects in the country, which means that the let's say decarbonization of the district heating will happen much faster as comparing to what have been thought before. We'll see how these experiments result, but this is indeed a very promising technology and very promising developments. I will now move to basically DHS companies which take part in the KeepWarm project, and on these examples we'll maybe explore a bit more these items which I have just mentioned, and maybe some others too. So first city is Bila Tserkva city, which is 200,000 people settlement, 70 kilometers from Kyiv to the south, so very close from here. A lot of people comparatively, a lot of buildings. The district heating company of the city provides heat to all major customers, and then 2/3 of the heat is generated by the natural gas to heat mainly facilities, while 1/3 is served by the combined heat and power plant, which is located nearby the city. And basically, we help the city to shape and then search finance for the two major projects. One is one is related to the supplementation of a big diameter pipe, which connects the CHP and the city customers. It is approximately 8,000 meters, 8 kilometers pipe with the diameter of 800 millimeters. And then the pipe is old, it shall be replaced. There are big losses associated with the use of this pipe, and then the city does it best, and we assist the city to search the solution for the problem. Now coronavirus a bit kind of how to say it, stopped the activities which are directed to the finding the money for that, but we continue to push, and hopefully that will be resolved. We see one of several state funds and as the sources for the money, and the city is in negotiation with these sources for the financing of the project. And we definitely provided the assistance in terms of shaping the project, providing the financing figures, etc. The second city is Zhytomyr, which is 120 kilometers from Kyiv to the west. It is also like 250,000 inhabitants, a bit bigger city. There is one district heating company serving the whole city. The company actively executes modernization activities in terms of improving the efficiency of the boiler houses, but also in terms of supplementing the pipelines. There are, I think, 3 big projects, biomass to energy projects, which are being realized, executed now in the city. There are 2 combined heat and power stations with the average capacity of 3 megawatt electric, and then the one big boiler, like around 10 megawatt capacity. So these have been constructed, which means that it is already pretty soon, like in 2-3 years, that the city will need around 100,000 tons of sustainable biomass. And then this factor is also serious. The company searches for the possibilities to secure the biomass supply. There are some thoughts and plans to consider energy crops as an option to ensure the sustainable biomass supply. And overall, the energy crops could serve as an additional and reliable supply of the biomass for many. For the moment in Ukraine, there are 4,000 hectares of energy crops. Now the legislation has been in the process of the legislation changes in the process of development to easify the process of energy crops growing, the land permissions, etc., and then it is also very likely to be a very promising development area, the energy crops growth and use for energy purposes in Ukraine and in particular in district heat. The same company now, one of these combined heat and power stations will use organic Rankine cycle technology, which is very interesting. We consider that a promising example of technology apply as well. And then within the project, we plan to use the the outcomes of this technology application as a best practice to show to the fellow partners in Ukraine, but maybe to our partners within the KeepWarm consortium, within the KeepWarm project, and maybe to the others to see that how efficient this ORC technology can be. It is also definitely biomass based. Yeah, and the company also is to the extent famous, because it experiments with the low temperatures in district heating because of the mild winters, but also because they have already executed supplementation of the pumps. They managed to have the temperatures of supply water to the customers at the level of maybe 60 Celsius degrees, and then return would be 50 Celsius degrees, well, depending from the weather, and the weather is mild. So this is basically now their usual mode of operation. So which also allows to secure energy efficiency of the supply. So it's a good company, many developments, and good, I'm sure, the good contribution to the project and from the project to the company. Ternopil Teplokомунэнерго, which is another city in our consortium, also some 250,000 inhabitant town. Many customers, but also many problems in terms of, for instance, that many people have migrated to individual gas firing, and but the company, continues the development. A lot of modernization is going on. Several projects from EBRD, from World Bank, from NEFCA are being executed, including the biomass one. They plan to construct around 10 megawatt biomass fired boiler. And the project is already on the way. We have assisted the company in terms of calculating and providing the additional input with regard to the plans of constructing the combined heat and power plant with 1 megawatt of electric and 4 megawatt of heat, so something like this. Visited already the site. So the opportunity is there. The city is interested. The company is interested. But now with this coronavirus situation and also with this low prices for the natural gas, the plants have been postponed, I shall say. It is the case that now in Ukraine, so the natural gas price is low, but the price for biomass is, in my opinion, unreasonably high. And but I think it is temporary. Just the producers of the pellets and wood chips, they just not adjusted their behavior to the market trends. I hope that will happen in the future, and that the biomass will continue its pace in Ternopil. And last but not least is Khmelnytsky TPP, not TPP, DHS, sorry. This is the smallest DHS out of 4 companies participating in our projects. It provides the heat to the 1/3 of the population of Khmelnytsky, which is again around 250,000 inhabitants. It is mainly gas-fired, only few biomass to heat energy projects, very small scale comparing to the overall heat load of the company. What they are interested in, and we assist them in that, is basically they would like to centralize the district heating in one of the districts of the town where they have nearby 2 big facilities, and so which both are inefficient because of the small loads, and they would like to accumulate the load at one boiler house, while taking the another one like out of the operation out of the operation. It is also interesting that Khmelnytsky is now one of the leaders in Ukraine in terms of introducing the system of household waste management and including the production of what is the name of so this is the name of one of the products out of the waste. I will remember it while
bio-waste.
Huh?
Bio-waste, maybe.
It is not bio-waste. It is just compressed waste where they have taken some important elements they have taken out of it, and then other parts of the waste they compress and use it as a fuel. Yes, it is the case. So on one hand, they would like to centralize the district heating, provide additional load to this existing boiler house, which is still gas-fired. But in parallel, they are considering to construct additional boiler with which operates on this waste within their waste management strategy, which is being executed in the city. And so that will be around 5 megawatt, and this 5 megawatt will be enough for the overall boiler house to operate in the beginning and at the end of the heating season. Also, very promising project, since this waste management and the use of waste for incineration and produce of energy is not widespread in Ukraine at all. So the country is actually looking at the city, and if that is positive, then this also can be used as an example for the other DHS companies in the country to activate and then to use it, construct such facilities. So as said before, that the natural gas for the moment is the dominant fuel for the district heating sector. Simultaneously, the share of biomass is growing, and with this, especially with this methanization of waste and other sources, it could be the case that natural gas will be gradually supplemented with these green gases. In our calculations, we have been using the prices of the natural gas, but now, as you see, that the reality has shown to us that the fluctuations can be much more serious. So maybe then we should adjust to the new reality. Yeah.
Kirill, in respect of time, I would like you to maybe conclude, so maybe we still get some questions for you as well.
Yeah. That's basically the conclusions are the following, that in Ukraine, the improving of the energy efficiency and introduction of renewable sources is possible, is feasible. The companies are doing that, and then they require some additional support, but gradually and step by step, they are managing to get closer to the decarbonization and an improvement of both energy efficiency and application of renewable energy sources. Some external factors matter, so they influence, but I think it is doable, especially if the necessary experience exchange is there, and also state support, municipal support. Thank you very much, and I look forward for the questions.
Thank you very much, Kirill. And yes, indeed, if you have a question, please raise your hand or put them in the chat. Maybe one question from my side in relation to what you said, that there is trust that was lost because the system potentially wasn't operating efficiently. And now this trust to the district heating system needs to be gained back, supplying with stable supply and with reliable supply. In which way would you say what are strategies of a district heating company to persuade customers to come back again? What are good practice of bringing customers that have switched to individual heating systems now back towards more centralized systems such as the district heating?
Yeah, thank you very much, Carsten. It is indeed very interesting and difficult question. It it is hard to actually return these customers back as long as the price of district heating energy is kind of not lower than the price of individual natural gas supply. And as I said before, that the reason why, so it just so happened in Ukraine. Well, the companies, what they tend to do is basically they, on one hand, they would like to question the efficiency and then the safety of the, let's say, individual natural gas-based heat supply, because there are issues connected with the safety, like firings, etc., because this individual gas supply often happens in multi-apartment buildings, meaning literally every apartment has its own small natural gas boilers, kind of sitting in their kitchen, for instance. So there are issues of safety. There are also issues of environmental safety, because the flue gases from this natural gas fired boilers, they just come out of the window, and then the next window can breath them. So that is the point. So for the moment, the companies are concentrated on, let's say, legal constraints, legal barriers toward further expansion of natural gas individual district heating. Yeah, but the situation is in this respect, it is difficult. Of course, it is possible to explain to people kind of why the district heating is kind of so important. But as long as the prices will be different, it will be difficult actually to return to make these customers back.
Okay, and one last question to you specifically is the mentioning of the potential of the straw used as a source of energy. So in this case, the installation of anaerobic reactors nearby boiler houses to produce finally biogas. Is that the technology which you have mentioned?
So basically, now there are several technical units which have been which start the operation. What they do, they consume straw and then produce biogas through anaerobic digestion. Then this biogas should be cleaned to methane, where basically we shall remove the CO2 and other additives from the mix. So from biogas you produce biomethane. Biomethane is supplied to the grid, to the natural gas grid, and then basically the same natural gas is used as the DHS companies used to do it, is used in their heat generation facilities. So this is basically the structure, the way to utilize this biomethane, and by doing so to decarbonize the district heat. Since if this straw to biogas technology works efficiently, so it could be well the case that the Ukrainian potential for this biomethane is estimated around 8 billion cubic meters per year. So it's a pretty considerable stuff, and then the whole sector could be decarbonized. Okay,
thank you very much, Kirill. Then I would like to pose 3 questions just as a final for this webinar before I wrap up and send some last remarks. Klaus, can you give us an estimate of the average payback period of energy efficiency actions? Is that something which you would encourage people to look at, and to what extent relate they to the ongoing investments in efficiency versus renewable energy?
Payback period is always quite difficult, because there are some not very cost-intensive actions which pay back maybe in 1 or 2 years, and some bigger investments like a new boiler might take up to 10 years or even longer if you make bigger investments. However, energy efficiency actions normally pay back faster than bigger investments into new fuels, changing your fuel and changing your whole system. So the starting point in optimization of the district heating is the energy efficiency, and a second step you can go on and switch your fossil system into a renewable system.
Thank you very much. Any last remark from your side? A message you would like to send based on your the cases that you have implemented here on energy efficiency?
Good question. I think district heating will be one key in a renewable green future within whole Europe.
Okay, thank you. Then over to Martin here, and maybe focusing particularly on the current situation also of the coal transition, which you mentioned and related to. So what is the role? What role do you see that the district heating systems will play in order to be able to decarbonize the currently quite fossil fuel dependent supply or district heating production? What role do you see that the district heating system will play in the decarbonization?
Well, first of all, I need to say that we as a district heating industry, we have already pledged that we will end using coal within the next 15 years. So we expect, which is even earlier than our government will probably, because as you know, we have a coal commission in Czech Republic, which is now debating on when Czech Republic can actually put the end to using coal and coal mining and how the transition should look like. So we expect that within 15 years we should be able to quit using coal. It doesn't mean that we will end using fossil fuels. We still believe we will have to use natural gas for some time, but certainly use of renewable energy sources should dramatically increase. And we also see district heating as a tool for not only using renewable energy but also waste heat, which I believe is a very important source, especially in bigger cities when we have number of waste heat sources, such as, for example, metro system, Prague, such as wastewater, which typically has higher temperature and is released to rivers, and this energy content is lost, etc., etc. So I see large opportunities for district heating systems, not only in using, let's say, new renewable energy, but also and primarily in recycling waste heat, which otherwise would be somehow, wasted, and we can recycle it and send it back to the customer. That's I think the most exciting part of the district heating business, when you actually save something that would be wasted and actually make it into the usable product which can heat somebody's home. And that's the most exciting part, I would say, of the whole business. And hopefully we, of course, now at the moment the share is very small, but I hope it will we can really expand this line of business and its ultimate sense of district heating for the future.
Thank you very much, Martin, for this conclusion, and also quite optimistic outlook into the Czech future, but maybe it relates also to the Ukrainian future. Any final remarks, Kirill, from your side?
Well, I'm modestly positive with respect to the further decarbonization and improvements of energy efficiency and application of renewable energy sources in Ukraine. I think we are doing moderately well, and will do even better if we'll improve legislation a little bit, and then share these best practices which have been also developed within the KeepWarm project.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, everyone. Let me just share some elements which I learned, and I hope you learned as well. So Klaus highlighted the importance of and the ambition of Austria to go for 100% renewable energy by 2040. The importance within that system also to look at excess heat and green gas as a new source. He has shown us the example of list that there could be an improvement of 6% in energy efficiency and 30% of profit raising. He also advocated that district heating can be done in small towns, and the optimization of biomass through flue gas condensation is really something you should look into. Martin highlighted the case of Brno with average losses of heat by accounting for 18%, so almost one fifth. There are safety consideration which could help, which we have seen in the Ukrainian case as well, for communicating the switch or going back to so customers come back to district heating systems. There's a challenge certainly still to persuade customers, but there are many benefits, and one was that also for the customers they can save 8 to 15% apart from more comfort, more environmental considerations, and so on. So the VAT issue is here maybe an instrument which national governments should look at. We have seen that case here. Then Kirill highlighted the challenges of smart modernization, also the decrease in demand to some aspect, also due to climate change, and the significant debt level that some DHSs are facing or public authorities are facing, and the lack of financial resources in that regard. Here, I think the just transition mechanism, which has been launched, but also the COVID measures by public funds being now available, can play a considerable part here. So I'm inviting you to look into this, advocate for more energy efficiency in relation to the district heating system. And I would also like to invite you with this to stay with us, not today, but in the future to come for the events that are related to district heating and also cooling. Here, the 9th European Conference of Sustainable Cities and Towns with a session focused on heating. And then on the 8th of October, the second webinar now focused on renewable energy from KeepWarm. And last but not least, on the 12th of November, the KeepWarm final conference with more lessons learned. And with that, I like to invite you again to use the material which we have launched today virtually and which are available. And I thank you very much. I thank very much all the 3 presenters, as well as, or actually 4 presenters, including George and Anya as well. But also thanks to everyone who participated here today and is willing to look into energy efficiency in district heating systems. Thank you and have a good day.